More than 400 foreign nationals and injured Palestinians have been able to leave Gaza Strip more than 3 weeks into the war, but there are still thousands left behind trying to make it through that Rafah crossing and into Egypt. Joining us live now is former Israeli National Security Advisor and the head of the country's National Security Council, Eyal Hulata. Eyal, good to see you. Thanks for your time this evening, How much of a role does Israel play in the facilitation of folks moving from Gaza through the Rafah crossing and into Egypt?
So thanks to you, Pete, for having me on your show. Actually, Israel does not play a role in that. This is not about Israel. I mean, Israel's demand from the outset was after having this being imposed on us. I mean, it's not like we started this and all this devastating, brutal massacre in our communities. What Israel demanded is the release of the hostages. There are more than 240 of them in Gaza. I'm very happy, and I think everybody in Israel is happy that people can be evacuated from Gaza. The humanitarian situation is of course an issue for Israeli government, but we don't play a role in that. We just want to see that if Gazans can be exited from Gaza Strip, maybe our hostages can be also exited from the
Would you have concerns on that point, though? Would you have concerns? Sorry, I only asked that question because, I mean, folks had said that Israel might have been involved in that, or you might at least have a say. But what you're saying is that it's all Qatar, it's all Egypt, it's all the US. You're not involved in folks leaving Rafah crossing.
Look, I'm not an official of the Israeli government at the moment. Maybe there are things that I'm not aware of, but just now, rationally, Israel shouldn't play a role in this. Maybe we give our support to it. Of course, I'm sure that if Israel's opinion was given, we're all for it.
Would you have concerns? Any concerns with Palestinians from Gaza leaving the Strip?
No, I mean, first of all, let's start with how this all plays out. Israel has asked the civilian population of northern Gaza to move to the south, so there are no civilian people in the war zone in the north of Gaza, where military is operating in footage that you now see on the screen. Clearly, the humanitarian situation south of Gaza is very difficult. Israel has asked the Egyptians to allow Palestinians to move into Sinai, so there could be some kind of relief to the humanitarian situation in Gaza, because we think Egypt should play a role in assisting us. This is not only an Israeli problem. In fact, shouldn't be an Israeli problem in the first place. So, I mean, I don't see any concerns in Gazans leaving to Sinai. On the contrary, I want many civilians to be in relief. And as I said before, I hope that our hostages can be moved into Egypt as well.
Just on to the UN, the Secretary-General Antonio Guterres has responded to that attack on the Jabalia refugee camp yesterday, or his spokesman, rather, has said that Antonio Guterres is appalled by the escalating violence in Gaza, which includes the killing of Palestinians, women and children. Now, this is in relation to that attack on the refugee camp that was again hit today, reportedly. No mention of Hamas in his statement, but what are your thoughts on that particular comment from the UN?
Look, unfortunately, I have to say that the UN is not playing the role that not only Israel, I think the entire international community should expect them. We are very empathic to the humanitarian situation in Gaza, and I'm more than empathic for the death of civilian Gazans, which shouldn't be there, because they should have left that war zone as we given them advance warning. I wish our communities had advance warning before Hamas burst into our communities and massacred in their beds on that Saturday. But the UN is not playing the role that they should play. I mean, there have never been balanced, right? I mean, there have been anti-Israeli from the outset throughout the decades of this conflict. Not that Israel is doing everything right. We're not, of course. But, in a situation like this, not to condemn Hamas.
What aren't you doing right? Just on that point, Eyal.
Yeah. I'm sorry?
What aren't you doing right? You said you're not doing everything right. What aren't you doing right?
No, I'm saying, generally, of course, it's clearly that there are things that, we were looking at that footage now in Jabalia. Am I happy about it? No, I'm not happy about it. Was it justified to kill the dozens of Hamas terrorists that were there while we did it? Probably. I would expect that our IDF either wasn't aware of the amount of casualties there. You took responsibility for it, right? I mean, our IDF spokesman came out and said, right?
Yeah. So just on that point, from a security point of view, in your field of expertise, when the IDF, maybe you can't answer this question, but when the IDF identifies a Hamas target, Presumably you can see Hamas targets, people moving there. Would you be able to see civilians moving as well before the button's pushed?
Well, sometimes we do. And I can share with you from previous attempts, also things that happened when I was National Security Advisor. There are many instances where we're ready to hit, and we see on the videos of the airplane that there are civilians there, and we abort because Israel does not target civilians. Right. By intention. This is not something that we do.
So run through the
circumstances of that event. But
sure, no, that's interesting. So how many is acceptable? If you see a Hamas target in the video that's emerging, is there a number of civilians there where you think, okay, this is still fine to push, or wait, no, there's too many, we can't?
So it's very difficult to answer such a question, of course, and it varies in the circumstances of the context we're in. We're now at war, and we're at war. The amount of course of aggression that is on the battlefield is much more than in other circumstances. Civilians shouldn't be in war zone. They just shouldn't be there. This is why we asked them to evacuate the place and created a safe place in southern Gaza where all of the humanitarian aid is brought there so they can be there safely without us attacking there. The IDF has said, and we're not doing it, we're not attacking south of Gaza exactly for that purposes. But Hamas is using its own population as human shields all the time. They keep them in their homes. They don't let them out. I just saw before I got into this show, footage of hundreds of kids and women, Gazans, walking towards our forces just to create this immense sense of human shield. This shouldn't happen. Hamas shouldn't do such things. This is war crimes. They're putting their own people in danger.
Interesting. Eyal, really appreciate your time. Thanks for joining us today. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you, Pete. And if I may, I think the Australian government, your Prime Minister, and the entire Australian people have been very supportive and understanding of our difficult situation. And we appreciate that. I appreciate that, and I'm sure everybody in Israel appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Eyal, thank you.